Welcome to the next edition of Change Talks, a resource for coaches and therapists. And today I'm interviewing Judy Rees. Now, Judy started her career in journalism before deciding she needed to change. And today she works with coaches and marketers to find their sweet spot in connecting with the people that really need their help. In this interview, we go into how people can use metaphor to influence, what her sweet spot sessions involve, and what a change worker must have in order to make this a business for themselves. Here is one interview to listen to and really discover the power of using metaphor.
You just come from Dan Bradbury's conference, haven't you? So I imagine you're niched out.
There's some very funny approaches to, amongst the speakers there, a lot of the people were doing something that I don't really recognise as coaching and calling themselves coaches.
Right.
And it was almost as if there was a majority assumption that what a coach did was talk at people and tell them what to do.
Mm.
Now, for me, that's so not what a coach does.
You say that's more of a consultant role. You know,
it's neither. It's someone who talks about something. It's an expert.
Mm.
A really good business consultant borrows a business's watch in order to tell them the time.
Mm.
That's what consultants should do. It's not just a joke. It really is what makes them really, really excellent consultants.
Okay. So, and so you found when you're seeing other people, they were calling themselves coaches, but they weren't necessarily doing what you would see as being coaching.
Yes, several of the people who were speaking at at Dan's conference and had stalls at Dan's conference, and there was this underlying assumption that basically you as a coach should simply tell people what to do, and that would be your job done. It just seemed not true to me.
I suppose you run the risk as well by doing that. You miss out the information gathering stage. You kind of latch onto one area that they might have talked about and say, right, this is what you need to do.
I mean, exactly. That's where. So my thing.
Oh, you cut out slightly there.
Believe that it's in that process of.
Yeah. Judy, you're cutting out a lot. This is quite a bad reception on here.
And then I wave my magic wand. It's the change happens as a result of the listening.
Can you hear me? Because you're cutting out on your.
You broke. I could hear you disappear, so I can hear you now.
Right.
And I'm wondering whether I need to move to a different place in the house.
It might be the case.
Can you hang on a moment then while I
sure.
move to right next to the router? Just unplug my computer, grab my notebook and pencil.
That was unfortunate because it sounded like you were about to make a really good point and you cut out.
Well, it's all stuff that could relevantly be part of the interview, I suppose. So I was saying basically that the change happens in the listening. It's not you listen in order to get enough information and then you tell them what to do. The listening is the magic.
So when, because obviously you've got your history is in clean language. When did the time come when that was a real big realization for you, where it was actually the listening as opposed to maybe the actual advice giving?
I think because my background is news journalism, I'd always been listening was what I was strong at and talking was what I was rubbish at. But I think it took me a long time to realise that this was not just me this was the case for, it was actually a generality. And I think only in the last 3 years or so have I really realised that it's almost a universal truth. That the change doesn't happen as the result of something. So, well, the change is in the relationship between it's something is happening inside the client, and the only function of the coach, consultant, mentor, whatever, is to create an environment in which that change occurs most efficiently.
Right. Okay.
And it seems to me that the majority of that change is created by the listening and not by the talking role of the coach or consultant.
Right.
And that the main reason that coaches and consultants talk is because that makes them happier. They feel they're doing their job more effectively if they're talking, because they believe that they've been hired for their expertise.
Right.
But
okay.
actually, although people think they hire people for their expertise, what they actually hire people for is their ability to generate the change. And it's not necessarily the expertise that helps people to change.
So do you find when you that you don't necessarily need to know where their background in their business or anything like that because you're able to listen and bring out that change in them?
Exactly. So it's possible to. So, for example, these sweet spot sessions, it's an hour. How on earth can I, as a coach, in an hour take them through, their whole CV and what they were strong at and what, where their weaknesses were and what they're interested in, all this. If there's so much content, it can't be done in an hour. On the other hand, if you focus on process and in particular on listening and on asking questions which precisely direct their attention, for example, to what's important to them, to precisely the emotion that they're looking to get from their work, to precisely what they want. If you can take their attention to those things with your questions and then ask them more questions about those thoughts, it's the change is driven from within their own mind.
Right, okay.
Not from long lists of what they've done in their lives.
And in that hour, they almost get those light bulb moments, do they, where they're like, oh yeah, that's it.
They typically will get 2 or 3 light bulb moments.
Brilliant.
So if you have a look on my website, which is called Transforming Communications at the moment, which is trance as in hypnotic trance, forming communications. There's a load of testimonials there of people who've had these sweet spot sessions with me. And to a man, they basically say, wow, which is quite exciting.
Absolutely. When you're coaching these people, is it mainly clean language that you're using, or is it a combination of what you've what you've learned in the past?
Yeah, it's typically a combination of clean language. It's primarily clean language usually, but I think there are a couple of common mistakes that people in the personal development industry make when they're trying to market themselves. And because I know about those common mistakes, I will be not clean. That is, I'll introduce content to the extent that I'll direct their attention to those common mistakes and in the vicinity of those common mistakes and establish whether they are making those mistakes. And if they are, then we'll sort that out as well. So, for example, if their attention is purely on themselves and what they can do, and they're not putting any attention on what their potential clients want, then we know there's a piece of work to be done there. And I'll simply shift their attention, I'll change their perceptual position in the jargon to what is it that the potential client actually wants.
Okay.
So
so that's one mistake that people make, is they put a lot of attention on themselves. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what kind of other things do you find that make mistakes?
So another Are you recording at this point, by the way? Or
Yes, yes,
yeah.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So another common mistake is that we're all encouraged in all the sort of personal development workshops to overcome what were previously our personal limits, such that by the time we've finished Tony Robbins' courses, we believe that we're completely limitless and nothing can stand in our way. And therefore, when we start to go from being a participant in a personal development workshop through to a person selling personal development, it's then really hard to go from being limitless to saying, well, I only work with this specific group of people.
Right, yeah.
It's inevitably really hard. And unless you address that pretty much head on, you're going to continue to have the problem. Because particularly in the world that we now live in the internet age, people expect to be able to buy a highly specific solution to their unique and individual problem.
Right.
From inside their unique and individual problem, they don't know that it's the same problem that everyone else has got. They believe that their problem is completely unique to them.
So this goes back to them just focusing on themselves rather than... Yeah.
So any person who's got a problem believes their problem is special. And when they go shopping for a solution to their problem, they look for a special solution.
Okay, yeah.
And therefore, if you present yourself as being a coach or NLPer specialising in a particular solution, the people who are shopping for that solution will go, oh, yes, there's somebody who understands me. And they'll buy you. Whereas if you say, I can do anything, well, they won't believe you.
So
and they'll think that you're treating their problem is, well, they obviously don't understand my problem because they think it's the same as everybody else's.
Absolutely. And you see a lot of hypnotherapists especially, they have the whole laundry list as such of who they can work with on their website, and everyone under the sun on the left hand side or right hand side of their website.
I think when you're selling or marketing, or when even you're presenting yourself as a potential solution, it's actually much, much, much more powerful to help people get the impression that you really, really understand them than to present your solution. It's like 90% of the sales process is convincing the client, the potential client, that you really get them, that you really understand them. If you can convince them that you understand them, their unique situation, their unique problem, they don't really care what solution you offer. They just assume your solution will be fine.
So it goes back to having that conversation with them initially, of showing that you can help them with their specific issue.
Yeah.
Even though you might have worked with loads and loads of the same cases, it's about almost making them feel special that they've got that issue and you can help with them.
Yeah, that it's more in the understanding than in the solution. They don't care what process you're going to use to make their problem go away. All they care is that the problem goes away.
Oh, okay. So when we